We saw 4 positive weeks of Bitcoin spot ETF inflows, but last week, unfortunately, we saw outflows of just over $900 million. Now, in today's video, I'll be telling you exactly what I think could be happening in the market in the upcoming days, weeks, and months, and I'll also go over the key events that we should be paying attention to this week. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So the run is over. Bitcoin spot ETFs saw net outflows of $903 million at the end of the trading week last week, following 4 weeks of net inflows. Weeks of consistent accumulation are erased by this single reversal, which also indicates a change in investor sentiment. The cryptocurrency market is impacted by profit taking and macro pressures. This we already know, and we've been covering this on the channel at length over the past couple weeks. Everyone is taking a hit. The reason we say this is because we also saw that Ethereum saw some pretty significant outflows, just under $800 million for the Ethereum spot ETFs. Now, what is happening to Bitcoin? This current price action was exactly within our forecast, and that forecast was up, down, up. Just to repeat myself, if you're new to the channel, this has been the trajectory that we've been covering for a very, very long time now. Once we hit these lows, we betted on the price going up, essentially going long, and at this level here, we went short. Now we're trying to look for a probable support level here where we can go long once more. A lot of people are calling for the market to be over, but just to reiterate what I've been saying, I do not think that this bull market cycle is over, and we do have a lot of support at lower levels still to be tapped into before we can say with absolute certainty that the bull market is over. And to be clear, that is not my base case. Right now on the daily time frame, you can see that Bitcoin is essentially trying to hold this bull market support band, which is made up of these moving averages, the green line and the red line here. So if we can hold above here, there's actually a pretty decent chance that we can move up and we wouldn't be retesting lower levels. However, I don't think that we will necessarily hold above here. Naturally, over the course of the weekend, we've had some pretty flat price action, and something that exemplifies this even further is if we take a look at the liquidation heat map over the past 24 hours, look at this price action. It's essentially just straight in a horizontal line. We have some liquidity to the upside, but we also have some liquidity to the downside as people are trying to catch the bottom, expecting another bigger move for Bitcoin. Now there's two camps right now for crypto Twitter. We have one group that thinks that the cycle is completely over and that 124K was the top, and we have people like myself that think that this is just a regular correction in the bull market before the last leg of this cycle. Now, I wanted to give you a little bit of perspective here because if you've been in crypto for a while, you know that these corrections are very, very normal for Bitcoin. Now, if we go to the Bitcoin chart here and we measure the move from the top to where we are today, this is literally a 12% move downwards. 12%. I have been around in bull markets where we've seen 30% corrections only to go ahead and move much, much higher. All I want to do here is give you some perspective because this isn't even that bad. A 12% correction? Really, guys? And you're freaking out? Look, I understand those of you that have been knee deep in altcoins. Hopefully, if you've been watching the channel, you haven't been implementing that strategy because as you know, my spot positioning is made up of only Bitcoin and Ethereum. This might annoy some of you that are still in altcoins, even with watching all of my videos, but I have not pivoted whatsoever. And there's a chance here that I don't pivot at all because so far, Bitcoin has given most of the returns of this cycle. And then I speculated a little bit on ETH when we had that capitulation event around that whole tariff nonsense with Trump. And we'll get into Trump today as well. But the point is, right now, my spot portfolio is very, very simple. Now, where I make most of my gains in this market has been actively trading the market. And I've been trying to share this with you guys along the way. This is how you can make some significant profits on the moves in the market. So if we go back to my Bitcoin chart here, as I said, you can bet on the price going up by going long, and you can also do the same if you think that the price is going down by going short. Now, this was an excellent opportunity to trade. Right here, I have to be perfectly honest, as I said in my previous videos. Right now, I am actively looking for opportunities to go long in this market. So if we come back down here to this previous support level or even wick below and grab some of that liquidity between $104,000 to $106,000, I do deem that as an excellent opportunity, and I will likely share that trade setup within my free Telegram community if that's something that interests you. Remember, I have the first link in my description down below if you want to see my own personal trade setups. All you need to do is DM me the word premium on Telegram and I would be happy to onboard you. And just to give you a little bit of an insight as to how my trade trades are going. My biggest trade so far is still this Bitcoin short, where we secured around 80K in profit, and I'm still sitting in around $100,000 in unrealized profit. I want to see us tap into $107,000 ideally. However, if we start to get an aggressive move higher, I am more than happy with these gains. I also have been longing Bitcoin dominance on Bluffin, which is the second link in my description down below. So if you think that altcoins will, for example, underperform Bitcoin for the foreseeable future, you can go ahead and go long. Of course, this is not financial advice, but I'm just showing you exactly what I am doing, how I am operating in this market. And again, to be perfectly clear, I still think that we will have a period of strong outperformance from altcoins, but we're not quite there yet. Going on the path that we've been talking about, a bounce from this level was always likely, and now I think we're going to go and tap into this bull market support band. At the bare minimum, we should be seeing Bitcoin dominance back above 62%. Now, I want to be careful to not be too deterministic, but it seems very, very likely, and we've been talking about this at length. If you've been following me, you can vouch for me on that. Now, I also wanted to go over Ethereum because you can see that we're struggling around the $4,000 level, and there is a massive support level down below, which again is that bull market support band. And you can see here that this is actually between 3,600 to around 3,450. So it would not surprise me whatsoever if we, for example, see Bitcoin start to go back down into this level. And if Bitcoin moves just a couple $1,000s here, it's highly likely that we will also see Ethereum go ahead and move lower and try to test this level as support. This could be a pivotal support level for Ethereum that may go ahead and send us to new all-time highs. To be perfectly clear once more, I do think that Ethereum will find its way back above $5,000 towards year end. Now, we know that the spot ETFs have been seeing outflows and has been pretty drastic this past week, over 900 million in outflows. And Ethereum paints pretty much the same picture. So people are starting to transition, going a little bit risk off. What did we see over this past few weeks that impacted this? Well, first and foremost, we do need to realize that the stock market does impact Bitcoin. The only thing that was a little bit annoying this week is we did see stocks and gold climb to new all-time highs. Meanwhile, Bitcoin started its correction. And then towards the end of the week, when we saw a little bit of weakness for stocks and gold, a tiny percentage pullback, saw Bitcoin pull back even more towards 108.5K, which is the current local bottom, although I do think that we will likely be heading lower. Right now, in terms of trading, I have not positioned myself in any other way than the two positions that I just showed you. I'm still looking to go long, but the idea is, when is the right opportunity? Now, I also want to talk about this Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, because you know that this is one of the key metrics that we like to look at on the channel. And you can see that right now in the 30-day time frame, there is approximately 2 times more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. Now, typically for our contrarian trades, I do like to see us at least 3 times higher, which would tell me that we may still go ahead and tap into this liquidity. Now, you can see that most of the liquidity does stop just below $106,000. So I do think that the bottom could be relatively close for Bitcoin, and I will be positioning myself accordingly in my free premium group if you'd like to join. Again, the only thing that this group really is, my own insights, my own analysis, and what I am currently doing in this market in regards to trading. So if that sounds interesting, it's that first link in the description down below. So right now, I have to be honest, I don't think that the correction is fully over. I still think that we can tap into this liquidity zone, especially because the momentum has been down. That being said, I think we're going to see a lot of bears get extremely confident when Bitcoin starts dropping to these levels. It'll be scary. You'll think that the market is over. Everyone will pile into shorts, and then all of a sudden we will rip to the upside. That is currently my base case. This week, we do have some pretty key events that we need to pay attention to. On Tuesday, we have the JOLTS job opening data, and we also have the ISM manufacturing PMI, along with non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate on Friday. Should be a pretty volatile week up ahead when we have these kinds of events. And I did find a little bit of bearish content for some of you that are perma bears and want to see whether or not the bull market has ended. To me personally, I don't think this is the case, but I wanted to share this information just so you can get a little bit of extra insight. Every single Bitcoin range deviation since 35K has indeed resulted in expansion. We cannot ignore this. Bitcoin deviated, formed a weekly SFP, and is now back in the deviation zone. That is not pretty. This indicates structural integrity has been broken, and if we cannot reclaim the range, we were in distribution, not reaccumulation. And if we were in distribution, then potentially 124.5K could be the top of the cycle. Again, I don't think that this is the case, but I just thought I would share this with you. So ideally, we want to go ahead and reclaim this range over here. These next few weeks will be absolutely pivotal for the bull market's integrity, so make sure you're paying attention. Also, I wanted to discuss the fact that the US dollar could be set for a rebound. Everyone was super bearish on the US dollar, and naturally, when the dollar rises, we tend to see risk-on assets not performing as well as they have been doing. And to wrap up this video, let's talk a little bit about Trump. This was actually last Friday, and so I want to share it with you because I didn't manage to do so in my Friday video. President Trump basically announced a 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals, announced a 50% tariff on kitchen cabinets, another 50% tariff on bathroom vanities and associated products, another 30% tariff on upholstered furniture, another 25% tariff on heavy trucks, and he also said that he would cut interest rates down to 2%. This all came out on Friday within a 60-minute period. And you know we've been covering this narrative on the channel for quite some time, but again, Trump came out and said that interest rates are still too high due to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's incompetence. And I'll leave you with what he posted on his personal account: "You're fired." You know, Fed Chair Jerome Powell's term ends in 2026, so let's see what actually happens here. But ultimately, I just don't think that he wants to be remembered as the guy that let inflation get out of control. We should get some more data this week that helps us out with seeing whether or not we should be cutting more interest rates. We know the path for Bitcoin has been playing out pretty close to perfection, I must say. Up, down, up is still in play. And you can see we got the up. Now we are still in progress on the way down, and I'd like to see us go back up for the last leg of this bull market cycle. 2 for 3 so far, not too bad. I try to simplify it for you, and ultimately this is how I have been trading this market. And that sums up today's video. Not much has changed for Bitcoin. Lately, we've essentially just stayed at around $109,000, give or take a few $100 because it is the weekend. But I do think that we will be seeing some more volatility this week, and perhaps we go ahead and tap into those lower levels before we have the chance to move higher for the last leg of this bull market cycle. That is at least my base case. There are a lot of bears out there that are calling for the cycle to be over, and despite what may seem to be bearish videos from my part, I was actively shorting the market and making profit. Now I am actively looking for longs. Doesn't mean I entered quite yet, but I am preparing myself to enter a long. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.